We are live. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Beyond the Throne. We are talking about House of the Dragon, Episode 1, The Heir of the Dragon. I'm your host, Hunter Chambliss, and I'm joined by my co-host, the one, the only, the Z-Man, Zaddeus Smith. How's it going, man?
Excuse me, sir. I demand to go by another name. I am Zaddeus, the heir for life. Not just for days, but the heir for life.
For life.
For life. Yeah, I'm doing good. Glad to be back. Glad to be back. Stone Boys are back.
Hell yeah, we are. Super excited because the last time we did this, we were talking about the very, very hated Season 8 of Game of Thrones. I still like it on my rewatch, but I know a lot of people did not. But this is a prequel series set, I believe they said 170 years before Daenerys Targaryen was born. So we get to see, you know, the rise of the Targaryen rise on the throne, which is very, very interesting, and the Civil War that's going to eventually happen, which I cannot wait to see where that leads into. But Z, let's give our non-spoiler thoughts first before we go into details. What did you think of Episode 1, The Heir of the Dragon?
No spoilery, I thought it was a very, very good episode and very good, kind of just a setup episode, because I feel like we got to know our players and like who we want to root for, and then we could also see the people that are kind of being like little snakes in the back, the new little fingers, let's say. So I'm very interested to see how that story, like their story, prevails in this new setting. And the best thing about it is I'm not one of the book readers like any of the Game of Thrones books, so I literally I know Daenerys and Aerys, we get there eventually, like you said, 172 years from now, but I have no idea who gives birth to who, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't know who's her great uncle or great grandfather or anything. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. And I'm staying away from like all Wikipedia's, all Game of Thrones Wikipedia, all that. So
yeah, I think this was a very, very solid, as you said, introduction back to Game of Thrones, to the world of Westeros, King's Landing. I think the cast they have are incredible. So, Paddy Considine as King Viserys, of course, the great Matt Smith as Daemon Targaryen, Emma D'Arcy as Princess Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra. Even though I think
Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra. And I'm trying to remember who plays a young version of her. Millie at House of the Dragon. Yeah, because Emma D'Arcy, I think she's gonna play the older version of her, or the adult version, whenever she. Because I do know one thing about the show. It's gonna go back and forth between.
Eve Best.
Yeah, there we go.
Eve Best, yes. And then Ralph Ians as Otto Hightower. Amazing all around. The one thing I love about the show, Z, is how in one episode they not only set up who our main characters are and what the main conflict is going to be, but they gave us so many layered characters that we'll get into in our spoiler review that right now I can't tell who the bad guy and who the good guys are.
Exactly. I completely agree. And like you say, you can't tell. I can tell who I know is going to be who. Again, I'm just thinking little finger quotes like chaos is a ladder, and I know who's throwing it in because this character did something like, "Are you really doing that to your own blood?" And we'll get into that more. But maybe there's a reason why he's doing it, and maybe there's a reason why he doesn't want this person on the throne. And like, I don't know. Like you said, I don't know who really to root for. Actually, I know one person I think is the best person so far, but then again, like the main series, that could be completely flipped on its head in the last season. But no hate to the last season.
Alright, so I will definitely I give high praise to this episode. So I have the premise we can break down real quick. Viserys hosts a tournament to celebrate the birth of his second child. Again, how do you say your name? I'm sorry, Princess
Well, yeah, Princess Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra welcomes her uncle Daemon back to the Red Keep, is the premise. So, guys, we are getting into spoiler territory for episode 1, House of the Dragon, The Heir of the Dragon. So if you have not seen it, please go watch it on HBO Max and come back and join us for the spoiler discussion, because it's going to be a very fun time. So, Z, as I was saying in my non-spoiler thoughts, the person who intrigues me the most is Daemon Targaryen.
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a good guy or if he's a bad guy. And I love that.
Mhm.
Because, going back to Game of Thrones, season 1, we knew who the villains were immediately.
Agreed.
You know, like we knew, okay, these guys are bad, these guys are good, and we had that dichotomy. What I love about what House Dragon does is it gives us a character in Daemon that's like, he does some harsh shit, but he has a reason behind it. Like, as he said when he first goes to war, in that great opening scene with all his army going into war. I think they call it the City Knights, from what I remember.
Yeah, the go codes whenever they're going to exact the king's justice on the people.
Yeah.
I can't say I disagree with a lot of stuff they did, because not to get too much into real world stuff, like if certain people did a certain crime, I think certain things should be cut off. And if you watch the show, you know what I mean.
Which again, I mean, I don't mind saying it out loud, and I'll be the bad guy here. But so what we learn is the people who the City Watch killed have raped and tortured multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
So in revenge, the king sends the City Watch to cut off some dicks, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and Damon had no qualms about enacting his justice. And while his brother didn't know about it at the time, when he found out about it, he was like, eh,
he was like, I can see it.
yeah. He said, don't make such a spectacle about it. And I do agree that maybe it could have been lessened, but I think you had to hammer it home first and foremost. This was going to happen to you if you do this. So if you don't do it, you'll have no problems. No, don't do any of this, no problems.
Yeah, so I love Damien because of the idea of, like, he goes too far with a lot of his pleasures, I should say. But deep down, you can tell he's actually a good guy. Even at the end of the episode, we're jumping a little bit, but when the mother and the son dies,
Mm-hmm.
and Damien comes up to Rhaenyra, am I saying her name correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Rhaenyra, and he's like, you know, your father wants you to be strong. He doesn't say it like a dick. He doesn't say it to be mean. He says it as an uncle who is trying to help his niece through something tough in that situation. So there is good in him, but he takes his pleasures one step too far in some ways.
Yeah, he's a perfect shade of gray, because, like you said, he was actually being. It was kind of surprising because he had been a little smug earlier, but he was actually being the thoughtful and loving uncle / brother at that point. Like, your father needs you to be strong, and it was Rhaenyra who's like saying, "I can never be a son to him." And like, man, I understand you're hurting, but this is also his wife and his son, so like,
but
every dad.
I do love that line because in her mind she feels like she can't be enough for her father at the time, and it's not until the line that the king has with her where he's like, I'm choosing you as my heir, that she sees that maybe she can be enough for him.
I completely agree with you on that, and however, the unfortunate part is I feel like Viserys was, and it's so weird to actually root for a character named Viserys, but I think Viserys, she wants the approval from her father that she eventually gets, but is it really approval if he's kind of been manipulated into the situation? You know what I mean? Because
I mean,
in her eyes, it's his approval. So yes, but and I guess in the viewer's eyes, like he was cool with letting Daemon be in the heir, if it wasn't for
actually
telling the truth.
Actually, there's a line he says where Viserys goes, I will not, like, he goes, was it, my wife and son just died. I will not be made to choose between my daughter and my brother.
Brother, that's true. That's true. That's true.
So he's right down the middle, but it's not until Damon says the air
For a
for a
day.
day line
Yeah.
that that goes one step too far for Viserys because he had just lost his son. So for him to say that and for him to not be by the side of his brother who just lost his wife and his son, that pushes him over the edge to be like, I choose you as my hand to be
Yeah.
next to me.
Yeah, it was kind of a dick move. No, no, no lie. Like I could understand being pissed about it. I just hate how it happened because of Hightower. However, Damon should have stayed first and foremost. He should have thought more about about like his brother's feelings or if this ever got back to him. But I will say it makes it more interesting to see how the rest of the season is going to be because I'm very interested in seeing how Damon's going to be. Again, kind of jumping all over. If you're looking for a linear show, this is probably not the best show you watch. But it is because it was easy. It was cool to see how Rhaenyra and Damon's relationship was also throughout the show because when she walked in early on the episode and found him sitting on the Iron Throne and like they had like such a little
You're not supposed to be here.
exactly. Like this is made for my father's hair. Like that's why I'm here. Basically, like well, that's me. But it's such witty banter, and they actually, and you can tell they generally love each other as uncle and niece. And hopefully, this doesn't push like Damon to want to kill Rhaenyra or vice versa. But I think that's the juice of like the like how
I I
judging
think it
is
is.
gonna go. Like he
I
could put
think I think the turning point is going to be his brother not giving him the hand position, giving it to Hightower
yeah
instead.
yeah
That's that's going to tip him over.
well, yeah, Hightower's already the hand, so. But I think when he learns that Hightower is going to, what's the reason why he's not the heir, that's gonna tip it over as well. Like,
And
and
you're so right. Hightower is the little finger of this season.
yes, and, like since we're going full spoiler, like he literally tried to sell his daughter to the king. Like I picked this game. He said, "Go, go."
Yep.
The king just lost his wife. Go. You should go read him a bedtime story. Or go see how your mother is.
Oh,
And you
don't.
know, and we're your mother's favorite. Just like, bruh, are you serious? I'm like,
Yeah.
and like, and I'm just kind of scared to know. Hopefully, we didn't see anything happen in that scene, which is good. But hopefully, she's not gonna turn out to be pregnant down the line or something like that, or like the new
I
queen.
I don't think so. And what's great about that scene is it's done for a horrible reason,
Mhm.
but they don't go in Game of Thrones. Everything's off limits. Everything is off limits. I mean, the first episode at the end of the first episode of Game of Thrones, you have Bran getting pushed out of a damn window, believing to be dead. So at that point, you have no idea what's going to happen. But I love that they treated this kind of with more dignity. Like they didn't have him take advantage of her or anything. Like she went in there, they were separated apart. He just wanted somebody there, and she has. I believe her name is what is it? It starts with an A.
Allison and Allison.
Allison.
And
She
yeah,
has a great line where she goes, "When my there we go, something like when my mother died, all I wanted was somebody to tell me I'm sorry." And she goes, "I'm very sorry for your loss."
I agree. I thought that was a beautiful line by her part, and at that point, it's really just like this is his daughter's friend coming to to give her condolences. So I did appreciate that. I did.
Yeah. And the tournament was so much fun.
Agree. Even though first of all, the way the tournament started, like I forgot who he lost to, but I just loved how Baratheon, one of the Baratheon brothers was the assholes that talked to Princess Rhaenys, who was like
Yeah.
who's the aunt, I think. Like how he's like, oh, you were the queen for never or something. They have like these nicknames for himself. But I actually have it written down.
Yeah.
He called her like, I can't find it, but it was such a dip move. Like, bro, like it would be a Baratheon to be so brass like that, but that was cool. But
Oh yeah.
the whole tournament was very fun until it got to that whole everybody killing the other person. Like Really? But then again, I think it was a perfect dichotomy between like the tournament and then what was going on in the birthing chambers with Rhaenyra's mom.
That scene. Oh my
Yeah.
god, that was so intense.
Yeah, because she had mentioned earlier, like when she was talking to her daughter, like the bedroom, the bed chamber is our battlefield. Like when she was like I think when she was either bathing, like like giving her a stomach rub or something, and talking about how
Yeah.
that's the battles that the women fight and stuff. But it was kind of it was a gruesome dichotomy. I think dichotomy is the right word to use of how it was just
Yeah.
going back and forth between those scenes and the jousting and I it does also lead me to wonder who is that Lord Kristen Cole, I think he is the Dornish guy, the guy who we get introduced to, who basically beats Damon in jousting and hand to hand combat. I feel like he's gonna
Oh,
have a
okay.
I feel like he's gonna be he's gonna have a bigger part to play in the future. I just don't know how.
His name is what? I'm sorry.
It was Kristen Cole. I almost called him Tristan, but it's Kriston, like
Oh.
Criston. And he was Dornish. Wait, yeah, wait, Dornish, because Allison had mentioned that he's Dornish when he had took off his helmet. So I wonder if with him being from Dorne, that kind of makes me think of unfortunately the sand snakes and stuff in the future. So I'm like thinking like, but then it also makes me think of Oberyn Martell, and like he was cool. So it kind of makes me wonder how if he an ancestor of the Martells in the future. So we don't know, but that's the good thing about the
Yeah.
show. I'm very willing, and I can't wait to find out.
Yeah. So I do have a kind of a weird question though.
Hmm.
Do we know at what time period of the Targaryen reign does this follow? Because I'm not sure if it takes place during the reign of the Mad King or before the reign of the Mad King.
No, definitely before because Aerys was the Mad King. So it's if I'm not mistaken, it's that this show it takes place because Viserys was the king had been I forgot the first Jaehaerys, the old King Jaehaerys when he was choosing between his heirs, he chose Viserys over Rhaenys. And so Rhaenys, we start to show 9 years into Viserys' reign, and 172 years before Jaime kills the Mad King. So we're 172 years before the Mad King. So there's so much history like that we need to find out about the
So
Targaryens. So
this gets me wondering if I'm pretty sure that this is not going to be a one season thing. I'm pretty sure they said they're going to try to space it out to multiple seasons because there is one. It's a long ass book, so you can easily do 2 or 3 seasons just on the one book alone. But I believe there's 2 or 3 books that this follows. So, do you think that if we get more seasons, that maybe it'll wrap around, kind of like where House of Dragon ends is the beginning of Game of Thrones?
I don't. I won't say that. Well, I won't say that far, but I think again, this is just future casting. I think the end of House of the Dragon will be the birth of Eris, be the birth
Of the
of the
Mad
Mad
King?
King, of either being born or him actually starting to take his rule. Because I know he looked like a pretty old guy at the like when we see him say burn it all like the main series.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be at the beginning, either at his birth or at the beginning of his reign. But I do know I want to see like some characters like Aemon Targaryen eventually down the line, like Master Aemon, and I would like to see like Aegon. Oh wait, no, I forgot. Not Aegon, the old one, but the one that he said that was his little brother, like Egg. They used to call Egg. So I would like to see more Targaryens, but just deeply in the future.
Yeah. So I also wonder if so I wonder how this is going to tie in, if it does at all, to the Jon Snow series we're getting as well.
Yeah, you know what? Because this show I think is just in pre-production. I believe it'll definitely come. It'll definitely be released, but I'm not sure if they're. I'm not sure how much they're going to be basing it off of. Because I know we're going to off of previous things. Because I know, of course, we're going to have to go and you're going to have to pick up where Jon Snow left off in Game of Thrones. But I don't know if they're going to want to go back as far as the Targaryens, like as far as House of Dragon, because we know the fans know that he's Aegon Targaryen. I think the second or the third. I don't know. comic
Yeah.
book readers, but he's a Targaryen. But does it really matter about north of the Wall? And we know he's north of the Wall now, so like, is him being a Targaryen really? Does it really matter?
Which, so I haven't watched Game of Thrones in a while, so I don't remember kind of the lineage. But who is Jon Snow's father revealed? I know it's a Targaryen. I just don't
Yeah,
remember which one it is.
it was Rhaegar. It was Rhaegar Targaryen who died at Tower of Joy, because remember he was Prince Rhaegar, which was Aerys' son, aka and Dany's brother, the good brother.
Yeah.
Who it was him and Lyanna, Ned's sister, that got married at
Yeah.
Tower of Joy, and then basically had John, and she died in childbirth. But to make sure that he wouldn't be executed by Robert, Ned said that John was his son. It was actually his
Yeah.
nephew, pretty much.
Because I was thinking, like, how cool, like, depending on how far back it went, if we kind of see, like, the makings of, like, Jon Snow, you know what I mean? Like, maybe we see glimpses of, like, his mother, his father, and then just kind of where we know that they're coming from. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, I wouldn't mind that if that's a future thing. Maybe not, definitely not in this first season. I would say, I think the one thing I mainly want to see in this first season is how the Targaryens ruled the Seven Kingdoms. I think that there still are. I
Yeah.
kind of want to see how the other houses feel about the Targaryens, because we see at the end of the episode how I think it was Rickon Stark, and then I forgot the Baratheon brother's name, but how everybody seemed very just they're naming a woman
Bamad.
after yeah, but they're naming her as the heir of King Viserys. Can't believe a woman's gonna be an heir. It's like they seem very kind of disgusted about it. So I want to see how they play into, like, even though I know it's Targaryen civil war, but I want to see how they kind of profit off of it, because you know that
Yeah.
they're gonna be rooting for somebody.
Which, and also at the end of the show, at the end of this episode, we see Damon
Mm.
like riding on the dragon, go, and it seems like the way they cut it that he was going to King's Landing.
Agree. And then I was thinking, like, is he about to challenge his brother? However, there was, and this is kind of downsides of watching like the preview or the preview of the upcoming season.
Which looks amazing, by the way.
It does. But there's a clip in the series where that seems like he's kind of at Rhaenyra's coronation or something like that. But that, again, it's taken all out of context, so that could really be anything. So hopefully he's not going to go challenge his brother just yet, because technically I don't think Viserys has very long to go, because like we haven't touched on it yet, but
Yeah,
something's
well,
going on
yeah.
with Viserys. So like,
So he's got like this sore on his back, and I was thinking at first that it was probably it looked like the precursor to grayscale that we saw in future seasons
hmm,
of Game of Thrones. But I know they said that has gone back centuries and centuries, you know what I mean? But it only
yeah.
happens to certain people.
Hmm.
Or it could be because I don't know why, but I think dragon scale was also a thing at one point, but I'm not sure if that's even a thing or not, or if I just made that up.
It could be. It could be. The only dragon skull I know of is Pokemon, the item from Pokemon. But it could be one. It could be an element that's happened back in those days. But what's your theory as to why he's getting it? Is that what you think happened? It,
So I think either two things: either he got injured in war, and the infection is just slowly taking him over, or it's an early development of grayscale that we're going to see kind of the early development of in this show. That way, when we watch it in later seasons of Game of Thrones, we see the severity of it in this season.
okay. Here, everybody, put your tinfoil hats on, because here's what I think happened. There's a it's some kind of ailment on his back, like I said, on his lower back, and I think he mentions that it's just because he's sitting on the chair or something. But then there's also a scene later in the episode, or
He
maybe
gets
it's
he gets cut.
yes, part of me thinks, and of course, because he's the little finger of our show, I think Hightower did something to poison something in the chair, and maybe he's developed, maybe that poison has gotten in his system or something, and it's the maybe some of
But
his,
timeline wise, I don't know if that makes sense because we see the the mark before he cuts himself on the throne.
well, yeah, but who's to say that maybe he's cut himself before? And that's what I
Fair.
say is complete tip or hat theories, but I'm thinking Hightower
That's
actually
not
did
actually
it.
far. That's not actually far fetched because when he's talking to again, I'm always gonna say her name wrong.
Rhaenyra,
Yeah,
Rhaenyra or Allison, okay.
yeah, Renair. But when he's talking to her, he tells her that the throne is the most dangerous place to be. And I don't know if he was talking about just because you have people coming at you, from like multiple different directions trying to kill you, or it's because the actual throne is poisoning not only the mind but the body itself.
That's true. And you know what? I like how you say that it's poisoning the mind because wouldn't it be well, even though what if again tinfoil hat, what if the throne is literally against Targaryens? Because like like if Targaryens sit on that throne, something's gonna happen to them because they had mentioned somebody called Magor the Targaryen like earlier, and he had a war or something like a previous ancestor. And I'm guessing he's one of the bad Targaryens, but who landed on the bad side when the guy flips the coin, he's the bad side. But I wonder if there's something about the throne that just really drives some Targaryens mad. Which I'm glad that Drogon just burned it down at the end of the main show
I'm
because
I'm wondering if maybe it's not just the Targaryens. Maybe it's everybody who has the throne because Cersei went a lot of she went crazy while she was on the throne.
that's true. Even though I will say, well, you know what? The only counter to that is Tommen because that little idiot was just too innocent, and naive. Like I can't say anything. I can't say anything bad about Tommen. Just that he should never have been there in the first place, and he wasn't ready to be king, like at all.
No, not at all. Um, so I guess we wondering if like maybe in this season we're going to see more of not only the throne poisoning the minds, but the the lengths that people will go to for the throne, which has always been the great thing about Game of Thrones to me. I love the battles, I love the war scenes; those are amazing. But I love the intrigue of it. I love the scheming and the backstabbing and the chess pieces. Like I'm gonna put my knight here and I'm gonna bait you in to do something, and then when you do that, I'm gonna kill you to get what I want.
Yeah, I hear what you're talking about, and I see what you. The strategy of Game of Thrones is really the best part to me, like you said. Like the battles and the wars are cool, but we only have they're literally battle and war episodes. Like there's usually one episode a season where it's focused on the battle or something, and the other 9 episodes or 7 in some cases are had to keep you intrigued in the rest of the show. And I think that's again
Yeah.
that's the strategy and like how people are actually playing the game. Like Cersei said, like when you play the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die.
Yep.
So and I think this series is going to be a very good one in regards to like how we mentioned first. We don't know who's good, and we don't know who's really bad, and I think the main people that we had to keep our eyes on. I think there's 4 main people. There's Rhaenyra and Viserys, which are father and daughter, of course, and I think they're the main. They're our quote unquote main characters for now. There's Daemon and what he's going to do eventually. There's Lord Corlys, and his wife, Princess Rhaenys, who was the aunt from
Hmm.
who got passed over earlier. And then there's Hightower. And my thing is, and my main big question of all of this is, who's going to be the not Ramsay Bolton, but the I forgot who was Ramsay's dad, Bolton of it all. Who's going to be the one who eventually betrays Viserys and I think the one who's going to kick everything off into a big old war.
So to me, I
Who's
mean,
Bolton?
it's kind of obvious who is going to set everything in motion. It's got to be Hightower
See, that's what I think. That's what it seems like he's the one who
because
easily
he
being.
because he's already in this episode he's already started it. The wheels have already turned, and it was in the scene where it was the what was it? All of the main guys from all the houses are in
Yeah.
a meeting, and half of them want Damon to be put in charge. The only one who doesn't, and who plants the idea of
Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra, is Hightower.
Yeah.
He's the only one who's like, well, he's a hothead. We don't know what he's gonna do. But she, Rhaenyra, she is the other option.
Mhm. I agree. I think he wants Rhaenyra there for one or two reasons. I think his plan has hinges on two things. He either wants his daughter Alicent to have an heir with the king, or two, whenever the king dies, he wants Rhaenyra to be queen, so he can have his daughter kind of whispering in her ear, or he can have
That
control of her pretty much.
that's what I was thinking, because he also, going back to sending his daughter to make the king happy, let's say, with some yeah, I think the whole plan of that was he wants to get his daughter pregnant with a son. That way, he has another heir that's going to take over the throne next. Because
Agreed.
it would be half and half. It would be half Targaryen, half
High Tower.
Hightower.
Yeah.
Um, but with his daughter not doing that, I wonder if she also has a plan of her own. Maybe either whether it's just to protect uh,
Rhaenyra. Or
Rhaenyra, and she's like, I don't know if I should do this,
mm,
but I would love if Rhaenyra gets the throne, and then Allison is her hand,
that would be nice. That would be very interesting. That would be very interesting, and I think he
because
would be
then
fine with that too.
because then that kind of screws up Hightower, because you see that Allison's not doing what her father told her to do. So she's already like defying him in a way, but it's for two reasons. She's either playing the long con, or she's protecting herself and Rhaenyra right now, just so if she does become queen, she has a way to take over his hand, and they work together.
Possibly, yeah. And it's something that I really hate. I'm really going to hate because I know eventually it's going to happen. The two of them Rhaenyra and Alicent. They have a very cool, tight relationship. But I have a feeling that eventually something's going to break that apart, and I think that's either going to be by either one of their fathers doing it. So either Hightower is going to have something to do with it, or Viserys is going to have something to do with breaking that family apart, or both. I'm breaking that friendship apart, or both of them. But I rue the day that happens, but it may happen sooner than later. Because again, I
I
don't know when they're
see.
just. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know when they're gonna start jumping back like into the future and stuff, and I kind of don't want to know. Hopefully, there's not nothing into the future, nothing against the actors. I would just like to stay in the young actresses now to see how we build up to how we get there eventually, like to how we get to
Yeah,
their adult versions. But
yeah. So I don't know if that's gonna happen. I think it would be a cool change of pace if, like, because we already know the Civil War is gonna happen between Rhaenyra and Daemon. We know that's gonna happen. So how that could be, used to keep their friendship closer is maybe she either uses her as, like, I'm not gonna say bait, but I'm gonna say like kind of a spy for the other side, because she can get into places that most people couldn't get into,
that's true. However,
or
go ahead.
she uses her as a warrior, because there was a scene about Allison talking about how women can't be warriors. So maybe that's a red herring to be like, maybe she will fight and be a warrior, but for Rhaenyra's side.
That's very possible, very true. And like I do like how they have like their uniform, not their uniforms, but their sigil. I think it is like how it's like because we see Lord Hightower's son that's fighting in the tournament and stuff against Damon. It's like I can't remember. It's like this. It looks like a candlestick with a flame on top or something like that, or maybe it's a rose or something. People come at me, but I think it was gold and green. It's like a golden little sigil with green on the side, which I thought was pretty cool. So it'd be cool to see if Allison becomes like a warrior. Because right now she seems kind of a little on the docile side, but again, that could be like you said, the long con. But also, my big question is the Targaryen Civil War. I think the main thing is I think we're supposed to think it's between this Rhaenyra and Daemon, but I kind of wonder if the aunt is gonna play on it because technically she's a Targaryen too, but her husband is not. So I just wonder is she gonna be on the sideline or is she gonna be involved in this too? I
Ooh.
think
I
yeah,
also I also wonder if this is not like a civil war like we think it's going to be, where it's going to be Damon's team versus Renara's team. I wonder if we're going to see other houses join in as well. So
I
maybe
think
we'll
so.
see like a breakup of like maybe the Starks join with
Daemon.
Rhaenyra, and maybe the Lannisters join up with Daemon.
That's true. I think that's a very good point, and like that's something that can easily happen. And you know what? Now that you got that in my head, I think whoever wins the Civil War is going to be the well. You know what? Whoever wait no, because it was I was about to get into weird territory, but it's only because Jamie was Jamie. Oh yeah, because whoever wins the Civil War is going to name a Lannister. I think that's their hand because eventually it's Jamie Lannister who's the
Is the hand of
head of the Mad King Eris. So yeah, eventually it's
Yep,
going to be the person that's
and then after the Mad King gets killed, then it goes into who Robert
Robert
Baratheon.
Baratheon. Yeah, and then
Yeah,
Baratheon is the Baratheon heirs, quote unquote.
yeah.
And
So I love how many different directions we can go in this season, because
okay,
I still have questions on like, are they going like who are they going to give the throne to? Because I always thought that um, oop, I always
yeah,
thought that Cersei was the first and only queen on the throne.
same.
But what if there was one before her that we didn't know about, that maybe history kind of blocked out because
Exactly.
it's nothing but men until Cersei takes over. So what if they just kind of buried Rhaenyra's reign to where nobody knows? Like again, the victors choose the history. Like
Exactly.
with um Jon Snow's parents.
Hmm.
For the first few seasons, we always thought that the Targaryen raped the Stark, but no, they were in love. But because the Starks won the war, they changed history.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. Since that was the lie that had to be, it had to be changed around, but to kind of save, yeah, to save John's life. But I completely agree with you like that because I too thought that okay, Cersei wasn't the first queen, so is Rhaenyra actually the first queen of the Andals and the first
Yeah,
queen and stuff? But like you said, whoever becomes the eventual king, to start the new Targaryen line, to start the line that we know of, they could easily erase Rhaenyra's reign. Like, because I think like when her aunt says in one of the previews, she's like, the men will die before they will die or either go to war before they see a
no.
woman.
So
And go ahead.
so she said, and this was a great line I remember. She said, "The men would rather burn the throne than see a woman take it,"
Yeah, there we go. Then so I'm like,
which
yeah,
is which is great foreshadowing because the throne does get burned, but not by a man, by a woman, by Daenerys.
yeah, that's true. Right, that so like, it's the one that burns it down. So again, the Iron Throne, I just think, first of all, it looks hideous. Even though I do say, I think the extra little swords that like are kind of like on the that kind of by the steps and stuff looks pretty cool. Like the throwing stuff still looks like the most uncomfortable chair ever. But the
Yeah,
backdrop of it looks kind of cool though. I will say that.
I will say I love the new. I think I like this look of the Iron Throne better than the ones in Game of Thrones.
Same, so do
Because
I. Yeah.
it looks like an actual throne. Because it has that, the swords are going up at a circular angle. So it looks like it's higher than it is kind of lower, like shoulder level to people in the series.
Oh, you know what? Also, that made me wonder, like, because whenever the show started, we kind of got the I don't. It's not a bird's eye view, but we kind of got we kind of got the view of how the Red Keep looks right now and how King's Landing looks right now, and eventually we know it's going to become wetter and more dirty to eventually destroy. But I kind of wonder how and I wonder if that's going to be the same thing with the Iron Throne because, like, it looks cool now, but in 172 years, that means
As the show goes on, it loses swords or it loses metal.
exactly. That would be
Yeah.
very cool to see. And also, how many? I think we only meet 2 dragons in this episode, but
Yeah.
I know they mentioned 10 dragons at some point. But are there only 2 right now, or are there more dragons out there? I wonder.
Well, I know they said they had, what, 9 total dragons?
Yeah, yeah, 10 at the beginning. Like when the old
10,
king
yeah.
was, yeah, when the old king was there, there were 10 dragons. But when it came to Viserys being the king, we only at least see 2 of them. Correct, which is Damon's, and then we get Cyrax, I think his name is, which is Rhaenyra's.
Which, by the way, the yellow dragon is named Cyrax. I
Yeah,
want the red one to be named Sector.
yeah. I was thinking the same thing with Cyrax as in Mortal Kombat. Like, I see what you did there. But yeah, but that would be cool. Just another red dragon called Centaur. That
By the way, the opening shot of this show is a perfect, like, kind of oxymoron. I don't know if that's the right word I'm using, but like at the end of the original series of Game of Thrones, it's a dragon sweeping that destroys King's Landing. This one, it's reversed. The dragon's coming through and it's not doing anything to King's Landing because it's just seeing a point of view of the dragon, which that's a badass way for her to make her debut. She's just flying into a dragon.
Oh yeah, best entrance of all time. Like she just flies in. And it's like you like, at that moment you think it's just a dragon just flying over and just gonna sit down. But then you see her like on the back of it, just like in total control of her dragon, and she just sits down. Like okay,
Another thing I'm wondering is when war comes, I wonder how they're going to do with the dragon situation because we know that. Again, I'm going to say her name like 14 different ways. So, Renala, there we go.
mm-hmm.
But she has a special bond with Sector, right? No, Cyrax. Cyrax. One of the two, but she has that bond with him because at the end of the show or the season or the episode, I'll get there eventually. But she commands the dragon to breathe the fire. Yeah. So, but we also see at the end of the episode that Daemon is starting to have a connection with one of the dragons as well.
Yeah. Did you also? I thought something was very funny about the scene at the funeral, of how when she says Dracarys, to me it's like Cyrus like, wait, you sure? Like this is your mom? Like it's like he hesitates for a little bit. It's
Are you sure?
This is your mom right here, but okay, whatever.
Are you sure? It was like in big games where it's like, are you sure you should keep attacking? They just attack you afterwards.
Yeah, but that is one thing I definitely hope they do more on this show with than they did on the main series. And this is something that will always be compared to. But the only dragon that really had a personality with the main series was Drogon. Rhaegon, yeah, Viserion and Rhaegon, they were cool dragons. I don't like Rhaegon because he was supposed to be John's dragon until he bit the dust. But Viserion, I really didn't care much for it. And like, I'm like, okay, I feel bad for Danny, but as far as the dragon, I really had no personal connection to any dragon but Drogon.
Yeah. So I actually think that's how they're going to do it because I like the idea of like not only the human characters but the dragons also have personalities where it's
Yeah,
like maybe it's also who controls them and who teaches them,
that's true.
but maybe one of the dragons attacks without the other one knowing, and then oh, okay, so he has a mind of its own. So he knows that, like, say Damon's dragon decides to attack,
Mhm.
you know, can he control the dragon?
That's true.
Or
Like,
does the dragon have a mind of its own?
yeah, because we only see a little bit of a connection with Damon and his dragon, and then he gets, I think his girlfriend, or either that wasn't
His
a girl,
wife.
but his wife. Okay, I said her. I wasn't, because I know they were at the party, or no, they were sleeping together at one point, but I thought they were at the brothel. But
Dude,
that,
by the way, on that scene, there was an audience, which I just found hilarious. It was eyes just poking through the
yeah,
halls.
yeah, all the girls love Damon. They go crazy for Damon, I guess. But yeah, they were just being
that
really
party,
quiet,
that party
and
scene
then at the party
was,
too, like.
dude.
So maybe
What's funny is during that party scene where, like, it's right after his
yeah.
mother dies.
Mm.
Um, as Damon is talking, you just, in the corner of your eye, you see someone fucking doggy style, and they stop, still in position, and they turn.
Yeah, because I think I hear I don't know the person that says like, "Quiet, your princess is going to speak," and they just stop and we're like, "Oh
Yeah,
wow."
just don't move, just don't move, and they look.
Yeah, and I also kind of wonder in that scene if Damon if Damon, I felt like he all wanted to stay as quiet as possible. But I feel like people kept edging him out on, like, egging him on to say something
Yep.
about the baby. So again, I don't feel like he's kind of going all over the place. I don't feel like he's a bad guy totally, because I don't think he wanted to say, but eventually he did say what he shouldn't have said. But all Damon tried to do, he wanted to chill and get his F on. He just wanted to get he just wanted to have fun. But no, he had to get egged on to talk, and he said something stupid.
I don't know. I also feel like he knew what he was gonna say before he said it.
Well, yeah, he never knew what he was gonna say, but I don't know if he wanted. I don't know if he wanted to
I
say, because I feel
I
like he wanted.
also I also don't think he knew that Hightower was there.
Oh no, no, no. Yeah, Hathor definitely has some spies on him. And my thing is, I don't know if his girl is inspired for Hightower either.
I didn't think about that because yeah, because who else would it be? That would make sense. It
Yeah,
would be someone who knows Damon super well.
yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, I could be getting this wrong. And again, going back to the main series, I think Littlefinger used to pay Rosalind. I think Tyrion's one of Tyrion's women or
Yep,
something, like,
yep.
and
Because
like.
that's why Tyrion killed her.
Well, that was Shay. Wait, no, no, that was Shay who was being paid by Tyrion's dad. But Rosalind was the one.
Tyrion's dad.
Well, yeah, but Rosalind was the one who ended up getting shot to death by Joffrey with the arrows and stuff, and was hanging on his bed. But she was the one that
Yeah.
she was with Tyrion. She was with somebody else throughout the show. Oh, Theon at one point too. Like, so
Goddamn Theon.
yeah. So I kind of wonder if Damon's girl is a spy also, because yeah, if she's one of the working women in King's Landing, she's probably definitely up for the money. So whoever's going to
Well,
be
that
marrying.
plus with Hightower being the hand of the king, he would
That's true.
have the wealth to pay her infinite amount of money.
That's true. Like, who were the guys on the council we met? I can't remember the maester. We saw the maester
So
who
hold
I
on,
think.
I think I have it right here. Let me see if I can
Okay.
find it. Um, let me see if I can find it.
Okay, no problem. Because I know it was King Viserys,
So
Damon.
it was Viserys, Otto Hightower, the Master of Coin,
Yeah. Do you have a name?
um, No, it just says the Master of Coin, so I don't know.
Mm. And then the Master of Ships, I think, was Corvus.
Yeah,
Mm. And then it was, I know there was somebody that was like somebody with the last name Strong, who was on Viserys' left.
yeah.
He was right next to, he was in between Damon and the Grand Maester. I just don't can't I can't think of any Strongs from the original series.
Yeah. Unless he changes his name eventually and then just takes on that name.
That's true. It could be a it could be another made up name eventually. Like well, not made up name because there aren't names that made up. But it could be a name like somebody that adopts another name. I keep just wanting to throw out Lannister because it's one of the names I know of. Like, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, from what we've seen in episode 1, I love how many different storylines they have going on at the same time. But I will say that it's always the problem I've had with Game of Thrones, and it's, well, one, I texted you this. Sometimes when they're talking, I can't hear what they're saying because they talk so damn low, and I'm like, okay, you gotta speak up a little bit so I can understand what you're saying.
Agree. Like there were moments where I had to enunciate people, or I had to turn up the volume a little bit.
Yep.
Like what are you saying? I can't quite hear you. Like what is like, okay? But it's like I understand that's like an intimate moment between some people, like between the characters, but it can't get distracting. Like come on guys, like
What sucks though is like for me, so I turn it up to hear what they say, and then like a word battle happens, and I have to turn it straight down because it's so loud. So I'm like, a perfect balance would be nice.
agree. I know what you mean. Like if it can just be perfectly balanced, or a good thing of my end, I do always have subtitles on, like closed captions. So
I need to do that.
yeah, you definitely need captions on whenever you're or subtitles on when you're watching your show.
And also, I mean, I'm not the brightest guy. I'm not gonna say I'm stupid, but some of the dialogue they have, I don't remember all the time. So I'm just like, oh, okay, that's what this guy said.
Agree. I know what you mean. It's still it's easy to in that old tongue, old Englishy type of tongue movement. So like
Yeah.
this it can mean you can think they mean one thing, but then they mean something else.
Yeah. So it took me a while to get into Game of Thrones because I just didn't understand what was going on the whole time. But as I got more into season 1, then I started putting the pieces together. I will say though, it's easier to get into House of the Dragon than it is episode 1 of Game of Thrones.
I can agree with you on that because there's not we're introduced to one main family and I don't think we're introduced to as much in this episode and in this series
Yeah.
yet than we were
Because
in the first.
in Game of Thrones, what's great about it is all different types of people and different families, which you get to learn. But when you come in fresh to watch it, it can be so overpowering to be like, I gotta remember 7 families with tons of children and different names and storylines going on at the same time. What this does great is it focuses on the Targaryen family. You have 2 main characters, and you know the story instantly. You know what's going to go on. And in the background, you have the Starks, the Lannisters, the Baratheons. You hear the names, so it's not giving you major storylines for 7 different characters.
Agree. Like, and I think it's gonna eventually build on. We're stuck on this one storyline right now. Of like, who's going to be, who's going to be who Viserys is going to name heir is going to name somebody heir. We see who he's naming heir, and now we're gonna see kind of what branches off from Viserys' decision and see
Mm-hmm.
how that decision affects the rest of the show. So, like you said,
Yeah,
we don't have to look over here, over here. I think eventually, like we had talked about earlier, they'll eventually join the side. But right now, there's only one main side, one main road we're going down, and we're gonna see how that decision affects the rest of the story, which I think is something very enjoyable about the show. Yeah, well,
it
not very in
it
season.
yeah, it also feels more like a standalone story,
Agree.
contained story that you don't have to know thousands of years of history to appreciate it more than you do. What's great is you can watch House of the Dragon first, then watch Game of Thrones and be okay with it because you don't know the background.
I was just about to say that, like, because if I would say if a new viewer wants to get into the show, they can watch it, and then I swear it's going to be like it's most likely going to change your opinion about some of the families you meet on Game of Thrones eventually. So House of the Dragon first, and then it's going to change what you think about people on Game of Thrones, which I think would be very
Which
interesting.
I also wonder. I kind of wish I had the aspect of watching this first
I know
because I wonder how my opinion would have changed of someone like Daenerys in Game of Thrones.
agree, agree. And you know what? Hmm. And you know what? Maybe just maybe we can get some viewers on the background. I mean, back in like on the show possibly in the future. Somebody who's never watched Game of Thrones. Like that's something that I'm very interested in. I mean, it would be cool to see if we could get some viewers eventually on this show on our show maybe as guest stars of who has never like seeing the actual Game of Thrones show, even though I would say it would be interesting to see if nobody's ever. I know there are people who's out there who's never watched Game of Thrones. I think my mom is probably one of them. So it'd be interesting to see their points of view, like you had said, Hunter, like see how they're liking our characters, liking the characters that they're introduced now, and then depending on how long this show goes, we see eventually like if they can like move seamlessly onto one show onto the main show. And I'm always going to call it Game of Thrones the main show. Pardon us for a second, people. We're having a little small technical difficulty, so I'm going to try to continue just talking to you about the show. The main man Hunter gets back on online with us. But I will say, not to wrap up my thoughts about the show, but I've said this multiple times throughout the night. I'm very intrigued on seeing where this goes. And while I couldn't remember his name earlier, but Bruce Bolton is the name is the one who betrayed Rob and betrayed the Stars of the Red Way. And I have a feeling, and it's kind of gonna be the downside about everything about the show is I feel like I want to tie somebody from the main show over onto this show, like find everybody's counterpart eventually. I feel like there's going to be a Roos somewhere in the midst. I know there's a already. I'm comparing Idle Hightower to Littlefinger right now, so I wonder if I'm going to keep on doing comparison, one-to-one comparisons between certain characters on the show or not. That's one thing I'm looking forward to, and then just where we go from here. Because again, first episode is very solid opening, very solid series premiere of the show, and it'll be interesting to see where we go from here, like with the rest of the story. Because I think history, at least from my perspective with Game of Thrones, the show, I never, I was always a fan of Starks, or it was always my favorite character. Well, not always, but she became my favorite character throughout the series, and how she's wanted to be she wanted to be a badass from like when she was younger. John was also one of my favorite characters, and Danny was kind of on the side. Like, never, I won't say she was one of my favorites, but I like Danny. And so with saying that is, I was never really too fond of a fan of the Targaryens really as much. I care more about the Starks than I would say the Targaryens by far. I would say I care more about the Starks, and then just out of an interest level, the Lannisters, because Tyrion was my boy. Tyrion was definitely a favorite character. And then we could go maybe to what was it, the Targaryens. So the Targaryens may have been like the third favorite family on my list of Game of Thrones. So it's interesting to see if that can be bumped up via House of the Dragon. And I would love to see if that happens because right now I'm already liking Rhaenyra, and I think she's gonna I think she's gonna be a very interesting character to start with. I just hope and I don't want to feed the trolls. Don't really want to feed the trolls at all because yes, again, come at me. I don't really have a problem at all with how they did Danny at the end of Game of Thrones. How she became spoiler for Game of Thrones. If you never watched the main series, just stop watching now or just take a pause. I'll do this when I'm done. I'll do this whenever I'm done. But spoilers, sorry now. How they basically made her become the Mad Queen, and well, I do think they could have and they should have expanded it over more episodes. I will always say that if you didn't see the signs of if you thought it was going to be a happy ending with Danny, you haven't been paying attention because there have been signs that have been cracking at her psyche throughout the whole show, and eventually uh, the deaths of my Sunday, her kids, and everything eventually pushed Danny over the limit. What's up, good sir? You can go back and see my little I won't say rants you do the rape, but I was just talking about how like
Why?
I kind of hope they don't do Rhaenyra kind of like how they did Danny at the end of Game of Thrones because again, why I don't hate I actually like the last season of Game of Thrones. Again, trolls come at me. I do think
I do too.
with my rewatch of Game of Thrones of the last season, I do wish they would have expanded it a little bit more. If it would have been like 8 episodes or 10 episodes instead of 6, I think it would have been perfect. And even though again, I always saw the cracks in Dane's mentality throughout the series. And then the last season, she literally lost everybody that she loved almost in that series, besides Drogon. So there's no absolute reason why she wouldn't just go crazy on Cersei. But then it's when she goes crazy on the people of King's Landing. That's when you start like, okay, we see where that coin landed, and
Yeah.
eventually, I think it's because like I think the quote is like whenever a Targaryen is born, the gods toss a coin, and
50-50 shot.
exactly. And we're introduced to Viserys and Dany at the time. Viserys is obviously the evil one, and Dany's the good one. But I say in my mind when Viserys died, that coin somehow stood back up on its side, like on the side, and it was just waves of what was just wobbling between what is Dany gonna be? Is she really good or is she gonna go bad? She get really good, or she gonna go bad, but it was just kind of back and forth. But when Jon, I think, is revealed to be Aegon Targaryen, I think that coin started turning just a little bit to the left with Dany. It's like and it eventually falls over and it reveals that
because
she.
because on my rewatch of it last year, what I realized is why that was a tipping point and why she went over the edge is because she knew with John being the only male heir that he was getting the throne. It was the
Yes,
same thing that they talked about in this show where it always goes to the male. It never goes to the female first.
yeah, it's because that the lords of the land look at the female as the male being the rightful true heir of all kings, and that it should only be a male on the throne. So I do agree that Dany saw what was coming because even though she said she how she loved John, she knew John was a threat to her reign. So she would eventually, if John didn't kill her, she would kill John first. So that's for my people who had never watched Game of Thrones before. I told them I would give them a little sign to come back. Like, so I want to
Get
spoil
little son.
yeah, so I want to spoil the last season of Game of Thrones, even though some people wouldn't mind the last season being spoiled. But the whole reason why I got into that little spiel is because I like Rhaenyra right now, and I hope we don't see her kind of degrade over the series. But then again, we got to think about the coin. Like, who's gonna be the mad one in this series so far?
What if it's flipped on her? It's flipped on us. What if Damon is the good side and Renara is the bad side, and the way they're doing it
Hmm.
makes it seem the opposite. Like Damon's gonna be the bad side and Renara's gonna be the good side. What if it's reversed?
It very well could be. It very well could be. I will say is I hope they get to it earlier than season 5 or something like that. Like I would like to
I
know.
I feel
Go,
like by the middle of the season, we're gonna know who the good guy and who the bad guy is.
okay, and that's what I would rather want. I would rather know for sure who's the good side, and like who I'm rooting for, who I'm not.
Because
But then
because with Damon, oh, go
mhm.
ahead.
I just think we're always. I keep forgetting about the aunt Rhaenys, but I'm not. I don't know if she really falls into the category. Like, is she a good side? Is she part of the coin? If is Viserys and her both on sides of the coin? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. So, because Damon could easily be the good side of the coin because
That's true.
we he's almost like an anti-hero in a way. We know he's doing bad things, but it's to bad people and it's to protect his family.
That's hilarious that you said that because just the fact that Damon is the anti-hero of the show makes me think of Damon Salvatore. The Vampire Diaries fans, woo woo woo. But even though Damon from the Vampire Diaries can be just a dick, period. But
Oh my god.
but just the fact that you said anti-hero made me think like, yeah, they do bad things, but then there's usually a reason that kind of relates to their family is the reason why they do it for. So I can see
Yeah.
that being the cost for Damon.
But also, and maybe this is intentional and maybe I'm just now realizing it. Did we ever see a good thing that Renara did in this episode? Where it means, like, whether it's something bad that she did for a good reason or something that she did pure of heart.
I'll say no. Not the only thing that we see Renard. We find a dragon. She goes and chill with Allison in the field. She's up at she's in the booth with her father, and she is the one I think that gave the she gave blessing or honors to Lord Chris Nicole after the joust and stuff. Like she gave him the wreath and stuff. And
Yeah.
then she eventually gets and she comforts her father in his time of need. Eventually, at the funeral and stuff, sends
Yeah.
two cars to burn the mother and her brother's body. But we don't see like too many other out. We don't see Renara's effects on the outside world. Like we saw Damon's effect was to clean up the city in one fell swoop. But with Rhaenyra is more.
It's
Uh,
more inwards on the family.
Thank you. Exactly. It's more inside stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So again, the dichotomy of how they would rule is already being shown.
Hmm.
Damon would be a king that if you attack, he's going to retaliate with more war
Yeah.
because that's how he can rule, which is not a bad way to do it because you do have to prove a point, but
Hmm.
you're putting lives on the line. Renara, the one thing I'm worried about is that she's gonna be a pushover for a lot of people in the show if she becomes queen.
And see, I think that's what they want us to think, and I really do. And I think I think that's what us seeing how Hightower is kind of wanting to be the whisperer in her ear and stuff. But I feel
He
like
wants to control her.
exactly he wants to control her. But I feel like that's gonna eventually, if Rhaenyra actually takes the throne, I think it's gonna like kind of be like a whole Sansa thing, like how Littlefinger made want Sansa to be the queen, like the Lady of Winterfell, and how she just kind of turned on him at the end. Like I know the truth of you, Littlefinger. I think
Yeah.
eventually Rhaenyra is actually going to be a lot more hardcore than uh, Ghost
So
Hightower believes she is.
so that goes into the question: if she does become queen, do you think she's gonna run it like Cersei did, with an iron fist? Maybe power and the throne corrupts her mind enough, so maybe that's what happens. Maybe she gets power early on, and Damon has to be the one to try to take her out.
That would be cool. That would be cool. I think I don't think she wants to be a tyrant type of ruler, but I feel like the lack of respect from like the other kings, or like not other kings, but the other lords of the great houses in the Seven Kingdoms are eventually are might challenge her to like torture them and throw them out because I'm pretty sure there were some names on there that some of the people that bowed down to Rhaenyra's reign that had their houses that are no longer because maybe it's just me, but I've never heard of House Hightower in the main series.
Me neither.
Right. And there may be some other. There were some other houses that I think I can't remember. There was another house in. And oh wait, it was somebody that was over the Reach or High Garden that wasn't the
The
Elena
Tyrell.
Tyrells, and it wasn't Tyrell this part. So I feel like eventually, whoever that person is, they're gonna get wiped out eventually. Their family's gonna get taken out. But who's gonna be the
So
one that does it?
again, so I was bringing up a point before my internet decided to crap out on me. I wonder how my opinions of the shows would have changed if I watched this first.
Agree.
You know what I'm saying? Because maybe I would have hated Daenerys going into it without knowing her story, or maybe I would have, preferred her, or maybe I would have hated another family, or maybe, you know, whatever. But the fact that I can watch this first and then watch Game of Thrones, that evolution of seeing like King's Landing and the Red Keep would have been kind of badass to see, because we're seeing it in reverse. We're seeing
Yeah.
from it getting burnt down to it being built, the Red Keep. So
Agree, completely agree. I was saying this while you were out. I think it would be really cool if we could, like, if we get a guest or somebody, if somebody wants to come on the show one day, somebody who's never watched Game of Thrones, like, but is watching House of Dragon. I would love to see how this show is influenced and how they if they want to continue, if they want to even start Game of Thrones, because I was
yeah,
also mentioning, like, the Targaryens were never really my favorite family. Like, it was always the Starks, and then even the Lannisters because of Tyrion, because I was hoping Tyrion was
yes,
going to run the Lannister clan. But the Targaryens are maybe like third or fourth, like third maybe of my favorite families. So I would like to see if this show actually bumps their standing up in my book.
So see, to me, the Targaryens were always second because I loved Daenerys so much in the original series. So I'd probably go Lannisters, then Targaryens, then Starks.
Okay. I see what you mean.
And that's only because there are some characters in the Stark family that I think had too much story plot line. Looking at you, Sansa.
Sansa and Bran, to tell you the truth, because oh my god, the whole
the
whole
the three-eyed raven.
So unnecessary at points. It was so unnecessary.
I will say, I will still hold to this thing that I think Bran is the perfect king.
You think he's the perfect king?
And yes, I think he was the perfect choice for a king because, as they said, he's someone who cannot be corrupted.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, and I agree with you on that. But I will always stick to this point. I think I mentioned it on our Beyond the Thrones last episode recap. Bran, and somebody please go find it if I did. Bran is the overall villain of Game of Thrones. He knew when he became Three-Eyed Raven. He knew everything that was about to happen. He could have easily told what is going to happen. But he did. He let it all happen to become king.
So what you're saying is, Bran is Littlefinger times 2.
Like no, like times 10. Right? Like times 10. Right? He even brought Littlefinger. Even when Littlefinger thought Bran was just a cripple boy, it's like the things. Wait, no, it wasn't the things he do. Oh, when Bran recited "Chaos is a ladder" to Littlefinger, Littlefinger's like, wait, what are you talking about? I said that a couple of seasons ago. Why are you saying it to me now? And then he said something. He said Bran at Littlefinger's execution, like. And I'll never forget the fact, and again, just because I watched it today, it's like how Tyrion's like, Bran, I know you don't want to be king, but would you become the king and rule the kingdom of the 7 kingdoms? And Bran's like, why do you think I came here? Like, this motherfucker, like, no.
I will say though, and I always get hate for this. I don't care. Come at me, guys.
Yeah. Okay.
The reason Bran was always the perfect choice for me, and it wasn't until my rewatch that I noticed this, is because he's someone that not only have we followed through all the seasons,
Mhm.
he's someone who didn't have a childhood. His childhood was ripped from him when he got thrown off of the side of the castle
That's
by
true.
Jaime Lannister. But he's someone who, again, won't be corrupted by power or greed or other families. He knows the right way to take King's Landing in
Agreed.
Westeros. He knows, okay, if I do this, this will happen. If I do, if I go up against the Starks, I know war is going to come, so I'm not going to do that. Because
I,
he can see all, so he knows which way will take wars and which way will not.
I completely agree with you. And I say my villain thing is somewhat jest, and I say that because
Yeah.
I don't want to take the series too seriously and be like mad like a bunch of other people are. That literally just makes me feel better of how the series is like Brand's just the villain. But then again, he did all of his villain things to make sure the country eventually the country or continent eventually prospers in the long run. So like, yeah, these last couple 8 years, like you gonna help this out, but if you would change what happened here, you would never eventually got King's Landing or the country or the Seven Kingdoms to this glorious future that they might have eventually.
Yeah, so
So yeah,
I'm also wondering how. I haven't done my rewatch in like a year and a half, so I'm
Mhm.
wondering if I go back and rewatch the whole show from the beginning, if I learn to appreciate Bran as the choice, knowing that that's where we're leading to. Maybe I'll start paying attention more to Three-Eyed Raven scenes because I know it's going to go somewhere eventually.
That's true. That's I haven't done a rewatch of the whole show in a while, but that's a very good point. You know,
So we got way off topic.
yeah, see, that's how it happens when you talk about anything Game of Thrones. It eventually goes back to the original series. But hopefully, good thing again. The good thing is this first starting episode was a great introduction
Yeah.
to this series and this timeline and how we'll eventually get to where we know. And I've said this a couple of times, but I'm very intrigued to see how we can continue and how we're gonna continue throughout this season, and then eventually
Mhm.
get to hopefully this show is one of the shows that lasts like 5+ seasons. I'll say 5+ because sometimes after five, some shows can get a little
Yeah.
boring too.
Yeah, I think they've learned their lesson, and I think they're gonna go probably 4 or 5 because, to be honest, wait, is there only one book that this is based on, or is there two?
I'm not sure. What book is this show based on?
I
Is it
believe.
Dragons? I don't know.
Hold on, I believe it's based on. Someone's gonna grill us in the comments. I just know it.
That's fine. Name Grills. How many books are? Oh well, no. That's how House of the Dragon is different from George R. R. Martin's Fire and Blood. So I guess it's
Fire
just
and
straight.
Blood, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess is it just one book? Oh yeah, House of the Dragon.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's just one book, but maybe it's a bit book. Even though I think all of them are used probably. Yeah, because it says the book is called George R. R. Martin's novel Fire and Blood.
Yeah, so the season had two filming units named Fire and Blood after Fire and Blood, the prequel anthology book the series is based on. Okay, so with it being one book, I'm pretty sure you can get a good 3 or 4 seasons out of it.
Agree. And if they want a second season or not for a fifth or sixth season, George start writing now.
Yes,
Now.
right now, because you will never get done with it. We know this
Don't,
already.
don't wait till 2025. Do it now. Like maybe it can be finished in 2025.
Yeah, so you start now, and then have 5 years to complete it. That's how it works.
Exactly.
So I'm very intrigued, and that's the best thing a show can do is not only give me more questions, but make me intrigued for the answers to those questions. And I think what's great about the show is it gave me a character I can latch on to immediately. that I know I can like either way their story is going, and that's Damon.
Mhm.
I like he's kind of good, he's kind of bad, but we never know what side of the coin he's actually on, which makes him going up against his niece very interesting because right now she's on the good side, he's in the middle. So it's just depending on, will that coin flip one way or another? Like, will she turn bad and he becomes the hero?
That's true. Very
And
true.
maybe history changed all this because as we said, you know, we thought that Cersei was the first queen of King's Landing.
Mhm.
Maybe not. Maybe the victors hid that away in history.
That's very true. That's very true. And, it would be again far out there. What if neither of them ends up taking the throne in the end? But that's one of those things that makes me
Yeah.
really interested in the rest of the show, and like that is one of those things that once it makes me that it's gonna keep me coming back week after week after week.
So
See how it
here's
goes.
a question for you. If it's not either one of them, who would you want to see on the throne at the end of the season?
In this season, I wouldn't mind seeing Rainis or either yeah I'll say Rainis. It's either Rainis or Rainis. The aunt who got passed over by Viserys in the first in the beginning of the
Yeah.
episode. It'll be interesting to see if she ends up on the throne or Hightower, and that's how we eventually never hear of Hightower again because he gets assassinated or something while he's on the throne.
He
And
he just gets killed.
yeah, his line basically ends with his daughter, pretty much.
That could be interesting. That Hightower gets on the throne, and then he's the catalyst for the Civil War.
That's true. It very well
Because
could.
maybe it's not the battle on who becomes the throne. Maybe it's the battle of who can become the hand, who eventually kills him to take the throne.
That could be interesting too because while he well, Viserys did name I was about to call it Daenerys.
Daenerys.
Yeah, I was about to call it Daenerys. Rhaenyra, his heir. I wonder if there are time in that time are there age limits, to become to sit on the throne because I do know at one point in the
She's
main series,
young, isn't she? She's like
yeah,
16.
she's a teenager right now. So I wonder if there's gonna be if you had to be an adult to actually take the throne.
So this is also a question I have, and maybe it's just me seeing this, but do you think there's a romantic relationship brewing between Renara and Allison?
I thought the same thing. I'm glad you brought that up. I thought the same thing, and then whenever maybe one of the reasons why she was kind of hesitant about going to talk to to Rhaenyra's father was also because of her feelings. But it could
She
just
was
be
she was in love with Renara
exactly. So it could be just great friendship, or it could be something more. So
because
yeah,
now again, this is a weird scene to me to nitpick, but it was when they were in the garden with each other, and she was
yeah.
like laying on Allison's her
Her
legs and
leg,
stuff,
yeah,
and they were like studying with each other. First off, great chemistry with the two
yeah.
actresses in this show. So that scene plus the whole idea of like, you know, just the way they kind of look at each other, you know what I mean? Where it's kind of like they're hinting at the fact that they like each other more than just friends.
Yeah, and then I think it's actually something in that scene, and I can't remember. I'm paraphrasing, or maybe I heard this in another show, but it was I believe there was something like where either Allison or I think Allison was talking to Rhaenyra about like, or you should be somewhere, your parents think you should be like in the castle, or you should be doing this, you should be doing that. But I think Rhaenyra said the best place I would rather be is here, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. She
Maybe it
was
was
like, it was in that same scene where she was laying on her
oh
legs,
exactly.
and,
So it's
and
like
and she was quizzing her on something. I'm not sure what she was quizzing her on.
yeah, Rhaenyra was quizzing Allison on like or vice
No,
versa.
vice versa.
Yeah, on like on the great houses, or like on history of Westeros or something.
Yeah, because she says something about like King something, and she goes, King something is not gonna fly.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
And then she has that line about the place I'd rather be is here, and then um, it actually shows that Renara has been studying a lot because she says who it is in the lineage, and then rips the
It's a
paper
page
off
out.
the
Yeah,
book.
that's what it. Hey, you know what? I just thought about something, Hunter. What if that's exactly what happened to her reign? Like, what if
Like,
eventually somebody reads her reign in the books? Rip.
and just rips it up.
That would be some for fantastic foreshadowing if that's the case.
Well, that plus, I mean, again, harkening back to the victors write history.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So,
Let's say somebody is writing down Rhaenyra's reign, long may our queen live, and then somebody just comes over and sees him writing, like, no, we ain't gonna talk about that. Rip. That
and
would be
more than
some great
likely,
foreshadowing.
it would probably be a Lannister because I could see Cersei doing that. I could see Cersei being like, there was no other queen before me.
Right? Cersei
Think
would be
about it.
that
That's
petty.
something she would do.
Oh, 100%.
She would be that petty to be like, nope, there's no other queen before me.
Queen of the Andals and the First Man. Rip.
Yep. So the idea that there's so many parallels between this and Game of Thrones that you can like maybe this happens, maybe this happens. There's so many different ways they can go with this.
Agreed.
Um, the most important part though is I love the characters. Now I will say there is no character I like as much as um, like Tyrion Lannister from Game of
Yeah.
Thrones early seasons because I will still say the best scene in TV history is the trial of Tyrion Lannister
Oh yeah.
when he has the line, "I did not kill Joffrey, but I wish I had."
Yeah.
Best
Like
scene in TV history.
Tyrion's uh, Peter Dinklage's whole scene right there, like his acting chops right there, is incredible.
I don't know.
Like
The only scene in House of the Dragon that I think won't top it, but is a close second, is when right after his wife and son dies, and he's having that everyone's talking, and the king's like, "My son and my wife just died. I will not be forced to pick between my daughter and my brother."
speaking of scenes, also thought Matt Smith as Damon had a great scene towards the end whenever he's talking about his brother. You're weak, like you would never. I don't know if word for word, but he's like, "You're weak. You've been here. You've been a king for 10 years. You're weak. You're not made for this." Or like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna sit down and just gonna dig a little deeper. But
Dude, Matt Smith in this show is fucking amazing. I cannot wait to see what he does in this show because a lot of these scenes, like the one you just mentioned, he steals whatever scene he's in. Whether it's him just being quiet in the tavern with his friends and then going on the speech being egged on, or it's him finally being so pissed that his brother didn't choose him and chose Hightower to be
man, yeah.
his hand. He said something like, "You would rather choose a snake to be your hand than your own brother."
That's true. Oh, and then how he's like, what was it? He's like, what you have against Lord Hightower? He's the most honorable man he's around. He's a cunt. Like
He's
shit.
a yeah. He goes, "He's a cunt and he's not your brother."
Yeah. Just tell it how it is. I will say that while I don't have a favorite character just yet, would be the first episode. I'm interested in both Rhaenyra and Daemon and where we go from
those
there.
are those are the two characters that you should be invested in, and I am.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I'm invested in people around them as well
Agreed. Agreed.
because I'm interested in the guy who beat Damon, who made him yield.
Yeah, Kristen.
Yeah, are we going to see more of him going forward?
That's true.
Like
Ooh.
how cool would it be if during the Civil War, you said his name is Christian?
Chris Dunn, like just
Kriston. What
yeah.
if he joins Damon's side as a partner, saying, "You didn't kill me, but I respect you for taking me to battle," and they join forces as teammates on the same army?
That's true, and you know what? And again, this is future talk, but we do know the Martells of Dorne had some type of relationship with the Targaryens, like back in because Rhaegar was supposed to marry a Martell from Dorne, but he was in love with Lyanna, and that's how whole Robert's Rebellion started. So we know there's going to be eventually a good relationship between Dorne and King's Landing. But whose
Yep.
side is that going to be on? I feel like Kristen is actually the one who's going to ferry that good relationship. But again, we don't know whose whose side, like you said, he's going to join. If he's going to be a Rhaenyra's side, because
Which way would it make sense, though?
well, because remember he asked for her honor like after he got beat Damon, he kind of got her
Right, because
blessing.
Damon got the blessing from Alyssa,
Allison,
didn't he?
yeah, yeah.
Allison, not Alyssa. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he got her blessing or her honor or whatever you want to call it.
Which
But yeah.
I wonder if that's foreshadowing for something too.
Also, I think it was kind of a dig at Hightower too, because Damon had just whooped her brother's ass in the joust, and it's like he goes looks at Hightower and is like, yeah, hey, Allison,
Hey, look at this.
this your daughter, give me her ring. He's just being a dick, which I love.
Which, thinking about it, because I'm not sure if that woman is his wife or not. As you said, I'm pretty sure it is, but I'm not quite sure. I wonder if that's going to cause a rift between Allison and Rhaenyra. Is maybe Damon.
That could be true. That could be true.
Because that could cause the Civil War to be even more intense.
That's very true.
Especially if Rhaenyra and Allison have feelings for each other.
Mhm.
Maybe she has like a conflicting emotion. Like she likes both of them, and it's literally uncle and niece.
Love is the depth of duty, or sometimes duty is the depth of love. And so, if she has to be forced to marry David, she may have to kill her love for Rhaenyra, possibly, or vice versa. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's very that's very possible. Just how in the series, like Sansa had to marry Tyrion and stuff like that, and Cersei was supposed to marry Loras, but
Yeah.
that's very good for Sean. But I'm looking forward to hoping that the rest of the season answers some of these questions. And if not, then the rest of the
Watch.
season.
None of this happens. We're just coming up with wild theories.
But you know that would make this show a great blooper reel or something like in the future. Like, yeah, this was our wild fan theory for House of the Dragon. Like, watch all of this. This is it.
No, none of it comes true. None of it.
You know, what if there's this Targaryen that we don't know of that just completely kills everybody? Like,
Danny Starr from season 8 just comes in and kills everybody.
but you know what? Though we're actually missing. We're actually looking. We're overlooking one major thing. Again, if you never watched the main series of Game of Thrones, go away for a minute. I'll do this.
What are you still doing here? We're an hour and 30 minutes into this series. We spoiled everything.
Right. Well, actually, we haven't spoiled one thing, and that's what I want people to go away from. So 5, 4, 3, 2,
Red Wedding?
1, go away. Not the Red Wedding, but remember the very first season of Game of Thrones. One of the people that we were all going to rally behind was Ned Stark. But at the end of the first season, he gets his head cut off. Who's going to be the Ned Stark of the series so far?
If I'm being honest, it's probably going to be the king.
It could be, but I feel like that would be too kind of be too predictable. But I do feel I myself think it's going to be the king overall. But I think it would be such a Game of Thrones type of swerve for it to be maybe not Daemon or Rhaenyra, but somebody else like close like Hightower or
Dude, Hightower eats it like in 2 episodes.
like, or
Sadly, he he's gonna be the little finger of the show.
or you know what? Actually, it could be. What if it was another Stark and and like how in the main series they say the Starks never do good down south. Maybe some one of the Starks who's ever, I think it's Rickon Stark,
Yeah,
who has a stupid little namesake eventually, but what if he does something that pisses the Targaryens off, and he ends up being executed down in King's Landing? But again, we don't care for any of the stars right now. But that's just one of those things that that's gonna be in the back of my mind throughout the rest of the season. Like
or
who's
I
gonna be
mean,
the next
hell,
Stark?
they could do it to where there is no Ned Stark this
That's
early.
true. That's true. They could do it because they could do that because we're expecting it. And then plus it's totally different showrunners too. So
Yeah, but also, I mean, right now we're not invested in a lot of characters besides the main two.
uh-huh.
And I would say the king. I empathize with the king, especially during the birth scene. Oh my god, dude! I feel so bad for him.
Yeah, it was a horrible choice he had to make, and I feel bad for him. I feel bad for Emma, his wife, because part of me knows, part of me doesn't think she would have wanted to. She would if she had the choice between the baby living or herself dying or both of them dying. I would think she would have chose to have the C-section, basically which what it was. Because
Dude, that was a very medieval C-section.
yeah, and I wish they would have.
Jesus.
I wish they would have gave her a choice. And I'm not sure if she was just too out of it. Well, no, because she felt everything that was happening to her. But I feel like if they would, if Viserys just would have told her that maybe she would have agreed, that she would have agreed to it, because she had mentioned earlier in the episode how she did. Oh, by the way, people come back. She had mentioned earlier in the episode that she
She has had
had 5 miscarriages
five miscarries.
exactly, and like I'm not a woman, but I can only imagine how taxing on a woman's soul and her body that is, and how on her psyche. So that has to hurt. So maybe if she would have had the option to choose to say that, okay, I don't care if I die, just save the baby, whatever, no matter how painful it is. I
Which
think she would eventually. I think she would have chosen that anyway, but it was kind of underhanded how Viserys eventually did it. But
do you
unfortunately,
think? Now maybe I'm getting too political for this,
mm,
but they did it in the show, so I don't know. Do you think that the king taking away that power from her and forcing her to have the C-section is their way of like making it kind of tie into our world a little bit?
I don't know, but I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I'll say no for now until we see the rest of the show, and I'll blame it on men having basically getting away with things back in those days or in this fictional world in those medieval times. But it
Hmm.
would be an interesting little tie-in if if that's kind of like how they were if that's how
Now
they were
again, not saying that that was their plan, but
uh,
the coincidence of them shooting it during the year where Roe versus Wade was
Wade
taken
gets up.
away.
Yeah. It's
It.
very true. I see your point, and that's one of the good things about I think TV in general. You can kind of take away
Hmm.
what you want from it. I'm not saying you're wrong by any point, because anybody who comes away with it sees it that way, like, yeah, because I myself think of it like he didn't give. I said in my statement, like, he didn't give her the choice of whether she wanted to have the baby or not, and I think she would have wanted to. And I
Yeah.
think again, it's very interesting times, are very coincidental times that this is happening. So yeah,
Yeah. So it may have been, just as you said, at the time the men were given all the power because that's
yeah,
just how it was. I mean, hell, the crux of the series is a woman can't be king.
gotcha.
So maybe that's where they were going at, but also the coincidence of it happening at the same time that this is happening is getting me, like, I like when shows do that. I like when shows take what's happening in real life and just
Mhm.
sprinkle it in, because that way you get connected to the characters more often because maybe you see yourself in some of these characters. You know what I mean?
Agree. I agree. I completely know what you mean. I
Yeah.
completely feel you on that.
So on that sour note, let's end the show.
Come back next time, ladies and gentlemen.
the,
That's not. It's not. You know, it's not a sour note. It's a words of wisdom. And as a matter of fact, that's how we should drop. That's how we should end every show with a word of wisdom of how we can take something that we learned from the show, and then
okay.
bring it to our real world.
I like that. So
Boom. Get it.
so what is your words of wisdom for this episode?
My words of wisdom that I can kind of take away from this episode that can apply to everyday life, and you can probably apply this to like the main show as well. But my words of wisdom would be keep your eyes open and keep your head on the swivel, because I feel like I hope that Rhaenyra is not gonna be so happy enough to think just because her dad is finally giving her approval that she's not gonna be keeping an eye on like the people around her, because everybody who's for you is really not for you. So like they may be clapping in your face now, may be kneeling down at your feet now, but those same men that are kneeling at your feet at your grand coronation will be the first ones to stab you in the back whenever you become queen or king.
Okay, so my words of wisdom for this episode is talking about power and talking about not only corruption, but how far would someone go to keep the throne and how far would someone go to protect their family. And that's all coming down to Daemon. Because how far will you go to protect not only your family, but your people? And that's just for you to decide. Like, where is the line that's going to go way too far? You have to make that decision for yourself.
Agreed.
Alright, so guys, we are an hour and 42 minutes in. We have almost gone the length of this episode.
We're longer than the episode.
Yes. Alright, guys, so that's where we're going to end tonight's live broadcast. We rambled on, but hopefully you guys got something from it. Z-Man, where can people find you online?
Good people, y'all can find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Zaddeus. That's ZADDEUS Smith on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, like I said. And also sometimes I do trivia across the main social media sites.
Across Westeros.
That's what I was about to say. Across Westeros, across SOs, do it with multiplex, do it with the MTC here. My boy right there, right here. So like, I'm always around, like somewhere on the internet. You can find me on multiple different shows, and then of course every week now. Actually, I say go back and check our old episodes, but from now on, this series ends, we're gonna be bringing you the Young Thrones every week, right here.
Yep. What's today? Every Monday night.
Yeah, every Monday night. There we go. Boom.
Yeah. So, guys, remember we have Beyond the Throne every Monday, but we do have the MTC every Sunday with the Sunday Super Show. We've got Welcome to Primetime, a horror podcast, which this past week we talked about Jordan Peele's Get Out because we talked about Nope the week prior. Very fun discussion, guys, so go check that one out. And also, I just dropped Clash of the Titans Part 1, which is the Horror Trivia Challenge Championship. John Marr taking on the champion Steve Mesa. Part 2 is going to come out either tonight or tomorrow, probably tomorrow morning, because we went a little too late for this podcast, but I had so much fun. That's what it's all about. So guys, remember to join us next week for House of the Dragon Episode 2, and as the man said, go and look up the other Beyond the Thrones we did, which we did all 8 episodes for Season 8 of Game of Thrones, from the first episode to the last episode, to the great Night Watch, was it the Night Battle? the Night
Oh yeah,
Wars episode.
the long night episode. Love it.
Which the Long Night episode has my favorite bit of all time, where you in the dark, and it's amazing.
Oh my god! Oh, and it's so amazing to see that show now on HBO Max because I'll admit it was dark then, but it's so much easier to watch it now.
And then also, there's an episode where we just go off topic and talk. Well, not off topic, but we get so uncomfortable talking about an Arya scene at the.
I still couldn't watch it yesterday. Like, yeah, I can't. It's my little sister dog. Like, weird.
You guys need to go check it out because those are some of the funniest episodes that I have ever done. Because we get so uncomfortable with one scene and it just goes on for a long time. It's so fun. Alright guys, that's where we're going to end it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.